a little more.
And we need to move it forward.
No.
Yeah. Okay. Move it forward. And then maybe that's kind of.
I don't know how this one keeps on telling me to rotate the
That's
device.
true.
Hopefully, I don't know if he's trying to say that I can't.
That's cool. Why not just do it like that?
Okay, all right, no problem. I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's how I usually do it anyway.
Oh, okay.
You need to. You need to hit record.
It's already. It should be already recording, I do believe, right? Or does it say hit?
It's live.
Okay.
Say live.
All right. Let me get this hooked up.
No, I think the book is too big here.
It's not. I'm just trying to figure out why is it at an angle.
I think that book is.
Yeah, it's weird, right?
Yeah.
Try this one. Try this one right here.
Hold on. I know that this thing moves. So let's see something.
Try this one.
Okay. Well, let's see. Because we got. But this don't come up. Backwards me, man. That's up there.
Try that one. That's a little better. Yeah, that's a little better.
Yeah.
Yeah, with Brad, we have a source in the community newspaper.
Mhm.
We had one that we before was named Community Press, and then we kind of dismantled it and started back up again. So
Okay.
yeah,
Because he was trying to get me to, he wanted to document me as I'm walking around doing the community stuff I'll be doing. So I told him, I said, man, really at the end of the day, I said, I'm not really trying to like do this to get, I don't want to get cool with no council person. I don't want no money from the Cleveland Foundation. That's ain't nothing free, man. You know?
Okay, guys, inshallah, we're about to start. Try and get this rolling. And I'll try not to be long-winded today. You know, I'm feeling a little beat myself. So.
Okay, alhamdulillah.
Oh yeah, the mic. Yeah. Bismillah walhamdulillah. Wassalatu wassalamu ala rasulillah wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa man wala wa ba'd. You're subscribed to my YouTube?
Yes.
Okay, so you could just you can share that because I forgot to share it to you on Facebook.
Okay.
So you could just share that
So
yourself.
I'll do an audio thing too, so I can listen to it in the car.
Okay. Uh-oh. What, did you guys mess up the speakers too?
Probably. Hold on.
Oh no, oh yeah, that has to be turned on. Yeah, okay, cool. Alright. Okay, almost forgot we were supposed to start with Arabic first. SubhanAllah. Okay, Bismillah walhamdulillah wassalatu wassalamu ala rasulillah wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa man wala wa ba'du. Okay, so we're still hello. Hello.
I'm not doing it.
No.
I'll try to figure it out.
Okay, no problem, inshallah. Okay, so we're still doing the second vowel sound and the letters, dealing with that. I think we're at here. I do believe. And if not, no problem. This will be a good review for us. So, the vowel sound that we're studying right now is the kasra, and the kasra makes what type of sound?
E.
Right, makes the vowel sound E. Right? So here we have some letters, four letters. We're gonna look at these letters, learn the names of these letters, and the sound that they make with the kasra. Okay, so Akhuna Ulysses, what letter is this?
That's the cough,
That's the qaf.
cough.
Okay, so this is the qaf.
Cough.
And the qaf with a kasra makes what sound?
K.
Qi.
K.
Qi. You gotta make sure that you vibrate the throat. Qi. Qi.
K.
Okay, so that's qi.
K.
All right, and what letter is this?
This is Zayn.
That's the zay. Right, and the zay with a kasra underneath it makes what sound?
Zayn.
Z. Z. So you got qi and then z.
Z.
And what letter is this?
Da.
Ra. So the va with a kasra underneath it.
It might work now.
Okay, yeah, I got it. Okay, cool. So the va with a kasra underneath it makes what sound?
Lead.
Li. Okay. So we have ti, z, li. And the last letter is
The ha.
the ha. And the ha with a kasra underneath it makes the sound
He.
he. All right. So we have he, li, z, and qi. Okay. We're going to look at these four letters as well. Sis, you want to participate? Okay. What letter is this? The ta. The ta, with a kasra underneath it makes what sound? T. Right. Ulysses, what letter is this?
That way. That's the ain.
Ghain. See the difference? Is the dot,
Dot,
right?
the dot.
Okay. So that's the ghain. And the ghain with a kasra underneath it makes what sound?
Z.
Ghi. Right? So you have T, Ghi. And this letter is? Mukhtar?
This is a sheen.
A sheen. And the sheen with a kasra underneath it makes?
She.
She. And this letter sis? The sad. Right? And the sad with a kasra underneath it makes? Sli. Okay, so we have Sli, She, Li, Ti. Okay. Gonna continue. We already went over these, so I'm just trying to get back to where we stopped, which I guess.
Let me go back and let me copy those.
Okay, this one, the Sli, the Sheen, the Sad, the Sheen, the Line, and the Ta.
Right. Okay.
Okay, so the last letters that we're going to study now with the Kasra are these five. So what letter is this, sis? The Waw with the Kasra? We. And what letter is this, Ulysses?
That's the ha.
That's the Ha. The Ha with a Kasra makes the
He.
He. That's correct. The He sound. So we have we, He. Mukhtar, what letter?
Dog.
The Dod, and the Dod with a Kasra?
Bleep.
Bling. Okay, and sis? The Dal with a Kasra? D. And Ulysses? Last one.
That's the Jim. Jim.
The Gene.
Jim.
Okay, and the Gene with a Kasra, pronounced?
Jim.
Jin.
Jim.
That's right. So we have J, D, Li, He, We. Okay. Alhamdulillah. So with that, then we're finished with the kasra. So the next class we're going to be
Can
doing.
you go back there?
Okay, I'm sorry. So the next class we're going to be covering the dhamma and the letters with that, and then after that we're going to go into al-med, which is elongation. Then after that we're going to look at how to read words, you know, seeing how the letters look in the beginning, middle, and end of a sentence. And you know, just really most letters at the end of the sentence, or at the end of a word, looks the same as they do alone. So a lot of them will look just like you see them now. So there's not a huge difference between how they look alone and how they look at the end of a word. So we just have to look at the difference in the beginning and the middle, really. So, and that's for most of them. There are certain words though that do change when they're at the end. Only two letters. Two letters, not words. Okay. All right. So the next time we're going to be going over the Dhamma Bidnillahi Jalla Jalalu. Okay. So with that being said, we're going to jump right into Tafsir Bidnillah. I do believe this should be a tafsir. Yes, this is a tafsir class. Okay. All right. And we are at. The word tafsir, right? We talked about the issues dealing with tafsir, the benefits of tafsir, the ruling of tafsir, and so forth. So now we talked about the Masjid, right? References when it comes to the issue of tafsir. So after finishing that, and also finishing what we do when we have differences in tafsir, and those are three types, gave examples of that. Now we are here. Go back a little bit. Oops, I think I went too forward. Okay, there we go. So what we're going to talk about now is translating the Quran, or what's known as in Arabic tarjuma. Tarjumatul Quran. So the word tarjuma means to translate or translation. So for example, if you ask somebody, is that book in English or is in Arabic, and the original text is in Arabic, but you have the English version, you can say, no, this is a tarjuma. This is a translation. Okay. So let's look at this word tarjuma now. So it says here, we're going to look at, of course, we always have to break things down. We're going to look at the linguistic definition of the word, and then we're going to look at it as a terminology that's used in tafsir. So linguistic definition of the word tarjuma says here, it can have a lot of implied meaning, which all goes back to the meaning of clarification and to sharpen, meaning to make something that is blurry, sharp. So all those things, all those meanings are in the definition, the linguistic definition of the word tarjuma. To clarify something or to make an image sharp or to make something sharp, which is, clear. Okay. As a terminology, what does the word tarjuma mean? So it says here, the interpretation of speech into another language. So tarjuma of the Quran means interpreting its meaning into another language. Right? So that is what a tarjuma is. Now remember, this is totally different than tafsir. We're not talking about tafsir now, we're just talking about translation.
What does that word originate from?
The word originates from the word tarjuma.
Tarjuma?
Yeah, it's a four letter asl word. That means the asl of the word actually has 4 letters instead of 3. Most words in Arabic have 3 letters as the root word, but this one has 4. One of those unique ones that have 4 letters. So it's ta, ra, jim, mim.
So other words come from this word?
No,
Okay. That's what I was wondering. Does this word come from?
no, no.
Okay. Okay. It sounds like another word. That's why I was thinking maybe.
Like what word?
I don't know. Before
I mean, there's a lot of words with the
before
ra,
I clicked
jim,
in,
mim.
I don't know why it made me think about like Tahara, but before you had clicked in, I'm like, no, he's talking about. When I first heard it, that's what I first heard, and then
Tahara, huh?
right, but then it was like, no, you say Tarjuma. That wasn't. It was. So I wondered if it was any similarities.
No, not the Tahara. No similarities there at all. No. Okay. So now we're going to talk about the 2 types of translations, which is kind of, these things we know without even thinking about it really. So one of the types of translating something is word for word, right? And that it would be to look at each word and its meaning without the influence of context. Without the influence of context. So, ana, translate that to I, for example. And then the word that comes after it, you translate that. Not looking at the sentence as a whole, but just looking at the meaning of each individual word. So that's the first way that one can translate something. The second way is translating meaning translating meaning or explanation, right? So that would be to articulate the meaning of the words in another language without being limited by word meaning or order. So you're not looking at the order of the words, you're not looking at the exact meaning of the words, but you're trying to get a sense of what is implied by that sentence. And the example here we're going to use is إِنَّا جَعَلْنَاهُ قُرْآنًا عَرَبِيًّا لَعَلَّكُمْ تَعْقِلُونَ. And indeed we have made it an Arabic Quran that you might understand. Okay. So, if we're translating this ayah for word, so we'll first go to, for example, the words of this verse would be translated word for word. So the word, for example, I was supposed to put inna here, but I forgot to put inna. So it says inna would be translated first, right? Because it's the first word. So we'll translate the first word, look at the first word in the sentence, translate that. So it's be inna. And then we'll look at the second word, which is ja'alnahu, which is actually 3 words that are closely linked together in the sentence because it's Arabic. And so then we'll translate that next. Then we'll look at the second word, which is Qur'anan, and then we'll translate that and so forth. So that will be the example of translating something word for word. Okay, translating meaning, like we said before, so translating meaning or explanation of the verse in its entirety without looking at the meaning of each individual word and its order, and this is very close to what the word tafsir means in general. So when we talk about tafsir, when we talk about explaining the Quran, there's a broad link to the word tarjuma, to the word translation, right? So in a sense, when we give a tafsir, it's almost as if we're giving a loose explanation or interpretation of the meaning of the ayah. Okay, so what is the ruling of tafsir? Oh, I'm sorry, not tafsir, but tarjuma. What is the ruling of tarjuma? So translating the Quran word for word is impossible. According to the majority of scholars, it is impossible to translate the Quran word for word. That is because this type of translation has that are impossible to meet. What are those conditions that have to be met if you're going to do a translation word for word of the Quran? First is that the language being translated into has a word with the exact meaning. Okay? That's the first. The second condition is that there are parts of a sentence which exist in that language that are used similar or close to that of the Arabic. So those parts, those phrases, right? And not just the phrases, but what we're talking about here is like grammatics as well, right? When we're talking about subject, predicate, does Arabic have those? Or is the subject, the construction of sentences different in Arabic? And there are differences, even in something simple as subject and predicate. All right, right? Because in English, for example, we only have one type of sentence. A sentence has a subject and a predicate. And the subject is a noun, the predicate is a verb, or it's followed by, it's linked to a verb, like auxiliary verb and so forth, right? So, in Arabic, there are actually two kinds of sentences. There is a what? What's the type of sentence that we have in Arabic? We have two types, depending on what it begins with. A sentence in Arabic can begin with come on, I thought you would know this. SubhanAllah. You only have two options. Actually, you have three options, but the other one we're going to leave off to the side. Okay, just think about the different types of words in Arabic, right? There are only three types of words in Arabic. Any word in Arabic has to fall underneath three categories. A verb, thank you. A verb is one. Next. A vowel? A noun. You said a noun. Okay. A noun is the other one. And the other one would be a preposition. I mean, there's no way, nothing else. It has to fall underneath one of those three. So that means you have three different types of sentences in Arabic, but in English you don't. In English you do not. So that right there is a difference. So a sentence in Arabic that starts with a verb is called a jumla fi'liyah. That sentence is called I don't know how you would translate that in English, but basically a sentence that starts with a verb. But we in English we can't have a sentence. Can we have a sentence that starts with a verb? No. If you're thinking about it, you can.
You can, but it's not grammatically correct.
No. You can act like there is, but it is. Yeah, it means something else. You would have to explain it in a way, or there's something that's missing from the sentence.
You can say go to the store, but that's not grammatically correct.
No, it is grammatically correct, but there's something missing in that sentence, which is you, which is implied by go to the store. See? So there's always the noun at the beginning of a sentence in English, but in Arabic, no. So that's some of the things that we're talking about. Okay, the next one, third, is the order in which both languages place the words are the same. So the order of the words in both languages have to be the same if you're going to translate word for word. Okay, so for example, when we talk about possessives, right? What word indicates possession, and what word is being possessed, and how are they in order in the sentence? Are they the same as in Arabic or not? And a good one here for us as English speakers is adjectives, right? Because adjectives in Arabic are the opposite of adjectives in English. What we mean is the order. We say red car, they say car red. Right? We say big book, they say book big. So that right there kind of makes this impossible to translate word for word. Okay. Some scholars say it is possible to translate certain verses of the Quran word for word. So even though it would be across, let alone the magnitude of what is being said, and sometimes that gets lost. Sometimes it carries over, sometimes it doesn't. Okay, so the articulated Arabic is hard to really compete with that when it comes to the Quran. And also, there is no reason for it. There's no reason to translate word for word. Why? Because translating the meaning makes it unnecessary. So, translating the Quran is allowed in general, right? Translating the Quran is allowed in general. Because there's nothing preventing that. There's nothing that says that it's not allowed, right? And also, it is a way to propagate the Quran in Islam to those who don't speak Arabic, being that the propagation.
Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah. Ashhadu anna Muhammadan Rasulullah. Ashhadu anna Muhammadan Rasulullah.
Okay. So, so we're talking about, okay, so nothing preventing us from translating the Quran into other languages, and also the fact that it's a way of propagating Islam and the Quran to those that do not speak Arabic. And propagating Islam and the Quran is obligatory. And this is important right here. It says, whatever obligation relies upon a thing for it to be fulfilled, then that thing is also obligatory. So, if you have something that's obligatory, where you cannot do that thing except by doing something else, that thing that you have to do in order to fulfill that obligation also becomes obligatory. This is a principle that we're going to cover more deeply when we get into issues, for example, of the salat, and for example, needing to wear clothes in order to pray. Right? So if you can't wear clothes, like you don't have any clothes unless you buy them. So buying them becomes obligatory. Right? If you have the money, because there's conditions to that. If you don't have the money, then it's not obligatory. But if you have the money, right, you decide to walk around naked and pray naked, and you can buy clothes. No, that's not gonna work. It's obligatory for you to buy clothes so that you can pray, because covering the private parts is obligatory for you to do in general, and also for prayer. Okay, so that's what that principle means. And we're going to see a lot of implications of that and how to apply it in similar scenarios, that like the example I gave. Bidnillahi Jalla Jalaluhu. Okay, and last but not least, conditions that have to be met when we talk about translating the Quran. There are 3 conditions that have to be met. The first condition is, how you guys doing back there? Good? Say it again, huh? That's the way we reach. Why do I need to say it again? Why is that?
I didn't hear you.
Why didn't you hear me? Is a question I'm asking now. Talking about something else. Subhanallah, Allahu Akbar.
Crazy.
At least you were honest enough to admit that.
No point in lying.
There is no points. True. So what we're gonna have to do now, after admitting, it's almost like sinning, right? If we want to make Toba, what do we got to do first?
Acknowledge
Yes.
our wrong.
Right, admit the wrong. Then, yes, forgiveness is without a doubt available and stuff from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala first. Then of course I don't have a problem after. So yeah, but what? What did you say? You said something underneath your breath. Man, you are
That's
just
all I
cutting.
said was mashallah.
Okay, all right, okay, cool. All right, cool. That's good. Let's just try and keep a positive environment and flow going, inshallah. Can we do that? Attentive, paying attention, scrutinize, being that you want to comment on, but you can only comment on things if you're paying attention. Sounds good? Okay. All right, continuing then. Okay. So, so the first condition that has to be met before we translate the Quran is that the translation is not made to replace the Quran, right? To the point where one feels that there is no need for having the Quran, or there's no need to learn the Quran or learn to read the Quran. This is why the Quran must be written next to it. So it is like an explanation of the Quran. The translation that you have is like an explanation. You have the Quran there next to it, and then you have the translation or explanation in your language. The second, okay, you're right. Okay, okay. The second thing is that the translator is knowledgeable of the implied meaning of both the words that he's translating. Okay, so he knows what the word means fully in Arabic, and he knows the meaning of the word that he's using in English. And that is synonymous or close, or it can fulfill the need or the meaning of that Arabic word. Right? And the last thing, and we'll stop here after we mention this, because after this we're done with tafsir anyway. The last thing is that the translator knows the legislative meaning, because certain things that are used in the Quran has a meaning only inside Islam, or a different meaning inside Islam. Not a meaning only inside Islam, but it has a different meaning inside Islam. Okay? So he has to know those meanings, right? And how it's used in Islam, and translation is not accepted other than from one who is trustworthy. So, the person who is translating, he has to be a person who is trustworthy. So, he should be a Muslim, first of all. Right? We have translations of the Quran, especially the ones that are written with the K's, with a K for Quran and stuff like that. That's translated by the Mustashriqeen, what they call Orientalists. Right? And so the person has to be Muslim and upright in this religion. Someone you trust his religion, they're the ones that's supposed to be translating. And we'll stop right there, inshallah ta'ala, and pray, and then come back to the class. Inshallah.
الله أكبر الله أكبر أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وأشهد أن محمد رسول الله حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح قد قامت الصلاة قد قامت الصلاة الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله. استعوا مستقيم.
You should probably sit right here, right behind the chair.
الله أكبر.
الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين آمين قل أعوذ برب الفلق من شر ما خلق ومن شر غاسق إذا وقب ومن شر النفاثات في العقد ومن شر حاسد إذا حسد. الله أكبر. سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين آمين قل أعوذ برب الناس ملك الناس الله الناس من شر الوسواس الخناس الذي يوسوس في صدور الناس من الجنة والناس الله أكبر سمع الله لمن حمده الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر سمع الله لمن حمده الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر السلام عليكم ورحمة الله. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله. السلام عليكم.
Bismillah. Okay. Continuing from where we left off, we're going to go now to fiqh, inshallah ta'ala, and to close the class with some questions and whatnot. Okay, so Kifayatul Ghulam. Okay, now, if I remember correctly, that we've delved into the nullifiers of the fast. Let's see here. Okay, no, not yet, actually. We talked about someone who mistakenly fast, or let's break that. A mistaken intention. We talked about the sick, and we talked about the traveler. Does anyone remember the word for traveler? Musafir, yes, musafir. And the word for sick, someone who's sick? Marid, yes. Okay, so this is this is where we're going to begin, but actually, you know, what's covered here is what we've touched on a little bit, but you know, They say التكرار. What is it? How does that say go? التكرار يثبت في الصغار أو يخشر يحنث ينحت في الصغار or something like that. But there's a saying that says التكرار يثبت في الصغار, but it's also something that's good for the adults too as well. I mean, repetition is something that is used to establish or to make information firm into those that are young, but it also benefits us too as well. I mean, it's not just for the young. But the older you are, the more you need to understand something in order to make it stick, right? And that's why I think it's very important for the person who's trying to learn Quran that they learn the Arabic language as well. I remember when I first started memorizing Quran and memorizing Hadith when I was in Egypt, my Arabic wasn't that good. So I depended mostly on repetition, right? Repeating until you get it and stuff. So, I mean, back then, it took me, my first Hadith that I tried to memorize took me a week to memorize. I remember it took that long. And I think it was the Hadith in 40 Hadith. And the surahs at that time also took a while to memorize. But the more that I understand what I'm saying, the easier it is to memorize. Easier to call you're following and understanding. So you know, for example, certain words don't go at certain places. And you know the context and things like that. So instead of, I went from memorizing a surah, taking a week to memorize a surah, to memorizing a page a day, memorizing, the highest I've ever gotten in memorization was memorizing a hizb in one day. A hizb is like, 9 pages? Something like that. But that was like, that's like, first year of school, no kids, no wife, just wake up after Fajr, go to school, and then after that, you just, you're in the Masjid just memorizing. Knowing what you're memorizing helps a lot, and being interested in what is being said, that memory also helps. So it was very hard for me to memorize things that had to do with the different sciences, like, when you go into deep issues of the science of criticism, where you have to memorize different narrators, their names, and when they were born, and why you can't take their narration. So memorizing those things were the most difficult. It's because it's not as interesting. I mean, it's necessary. You need that knowledge in order to be able to tell that a hadith is weak, or no, you can take it because specifically that narrator narrated on this guy, but even though he's weak, when he narrates on this guy, he's strong. And there's all these different nuances when you get deeper and deeper into those subject matter. But when it comes to the Quran, the words of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and he's talking about the people of the past, and he's talking about their arrogance, and he's talking about the people of the past, and he's talking about their level of faith. That stuff, it grabs your attention. And you want to know what happens after. And you want to know what came before. So those things, it helps you memorize. And that's why I encourage you to try and get as much of that language as you can, even if it's just the idha, knowing when idha comes up, inna, and because those things are all over the Quran. So you'll know when to say idha, when you say id, and ibn. And those three things, they sound almost the same. And that, knowing how to differentiate between those, their meanings, when they appear in a sentence, will also help you in memorization because you won't start mixing things up. I know this, for example, a lot of brothers, they mix up amanu and aminu. Did I just say the same thing?
No.
There was a difference. Or you can hear the difference. What's the difference? One has a fatha, the other one has a kasra. Almost the same word. What's the difference between amanu and aminu in meaning?
Amana, isn't it like trust?
Wrong. No. See, amana there's no elongation at the beginning. It's amana. The elongation is after the meme. This is amanu. So the elongation is at the beginning in both sense. Amanu, aminu. From the word iman. They're both from iman. Okay, the first one, amanu, those who believe. Aminu, believe. It's a command. It's telling them believe. So if you say, inna ladina aminu, that's wrong. Because it will say, telling someone to believe does not go with a sentence. Right? It's just a command. So I know a lot of people make that mistake. And also, of course, we spoke about the in alhamdulillah, the Fatiha and stuff. That too. Because I've seen people come from Egypt giving khutbahs, and the first thing they say is in alhamdulillah. And I'm like, subhanallah. Spent 2 years in Egypt, doing what? I don't know. Not learning Arabic, because you should know that's beginner stuff. That's beginner stuff. And I think that a person that is not able to differentiate between these nuances needs to sit down instead of putting himself up in front of the people for whatever reason. Needs to sit down and try to refine his studies. Okay. So we're going to be talking about this line, something that we studied. So it says that here, وَفِي قَضَاءِ الشَّهْرِ وَالْكَفَارَةِ وَمُطْلَقِ النَّذْرِ خُذِ الْعِبَارَةِ. Okay. What I didn't translate, because we know that it means and. Fi, in. You guys gotta know. I mean, these are like beginner words, man. And in. They're both predicates. No, I'm sorry, prepositions. I said predicate. I mean prepositions. So you have the wa and the fi. Now the thing is that in Arabic, that you're gonna have words that are used like prepositions that in English we would consider them prepositions, but in Arabic they're words. Okay. I mean, in English, I guess like the word above. Above is used like a preposition, like up, but it's a word. Above is not a preposition. So you have words like that. And what would be the equivalent to above in Arabic? That it is folk. It is folk. So folk is above. All right, and up is?
Is it the same? I thought.
No, of course it's not the same. No, there's definitely a difference. There's definitely a difference. But what I mean, the similarity is that it's a noun. Folk is a noun, just like above is a noun. Okay. Where we at? Okay, so the word qada, right? We didn't translate wa and fi because wa means and fi means in. But the word qada means what? It's a noun. It's the opposite of ada. Now we talked about ada. Ada means what? Who remembers? When you do an action, it's either one of these two. When you do a command or fulfill a command of Allah, it's either one of these two. If you pray, you either pray ada or you pray qada. If you fast, ada, qada. Qada is to make up, right? Right? Because it says right here, to make up, so obviously, okay.
No, I didn't read it.
I know you probably couldn't read it, you're too far back anyway. Okay, so what's ada then? To perform or fulfill in its time, right? So for example, Asr comes in and you're praying Asr. So you're doing ada. You're performing Asr. Okay? Asr comes in and you haven't prayed Dhuhr yet. So now Dhuhr is gone. So what you're going to do, you have to, when you pray Dhuhr in the time of Asr, you're not doing ada. You're doing qada. You're making up. Right? So you see the differences here. Okay, so qada ash-shahr. Ash-shahr meaning the month. Specifically, we're talking about Ramadan. Wal-kafara. Wal-kafara. Al-kafara is expiation. So you can fast the month of Ramadan, and you can also fast for expiation of, for example, stuff that you do You know, and you gotta expiate those sins and stuff when you do stuff. So, you know, yeah, so you'd have to do that qada'an to make up, right? So what about those? We kind of touched on it in things, but let's keep going. And then it says wa, and wa means and mutlaq al-nadri khud al-ibara. Mutlaq means absolute, right? And it's important to know this word. Know it now, because when we get into usul al-fiqh, the fundamentals of fiqh, this is going to come up a lot. A lot of things has to do with whether or not that command is absolute, meaning does it cover everybody, or is it specific? And knowing those principles and stuff like that, you're going to hear this word a lot. Mutlaq, muqayyad, you know, and am and ta'yeen and all these things, they're going to come up. So understand the meaning of this word now so you won't have to struggle with it later when we get into deep issues. Okay, another is a vow or an oath. وَأَوْفُوا بِالنَّذْرِ. Well, Allah says, and fulfill your vows or your oath. So that's nether. Khudh, it's a verb, right? It's the command form of a verb. Khudh. The past tense is akhadha. Akhadha means to take. So, I grab my bag. Akhadha. You know, akhadha al-mudarris al-bab. Al-haqiba or whatever, shanta or whatever you want to say. Okay, the teacher took the bag, right? So that's khud. So khud is when you want to, is the command now. So if I go like this and I hand Ulysses the microphone and I want him to take it, I say khud. Take it. Khud. There you go. Okay. A'tini. Thank you. Give me. Which means give me. All right. Yeah. Ah, look at you putting it together. Okay. Al-ibara. Al-ibara is a noun meaning lesson or something to think about. Same thing as ibra. Ibra, ibara. You hear the word ibra in the Quran. And maw'idah as well. Okay. Next. يشترط التعيين والتثبيت وخبر العدل به في هذه ثبوت. Okay, يشترط or يشترط. I'm sorry. Yeah, يشترط is a verb, present tense form, and it's from it's from the past tense form would be اشترط, right? اشترط. Which for some reason I kind of flipped the thaw and the ra around. I'm gonna have to fix that. Just notice that. If I didn't say anything, I wonder who would actually have known. Nobody. I sometimes I give myself up, but okay, no problem. So the noun is shart, right? And shart means condition. So yashtarat meaning to be a condition, right? That's the verb. And shart is condition. Okay, a ta'yeen. A ta'yeen is a noun from the verb ayyana. Does that sound familiar to anybody, the word ayyana? Ayn. What is ayn? Ayn, is it your eyeball? Oh, your uyun, yes, subhanallah. Yes, that's right. It is your eyeball. I forgot. My bad. I'm a little bit, out of it. Okay. So yes, So your eyeball, right, is ayn. So ayn is the verb. The noun is ayn, which means specific. So ayn means your eyeball, but also means something specific. Right? Because when you look at something, it becomes specific. So you can see there's a connection to a lot of these things. A tathbeet. A tathbeet is a noun from the verb thabbata. Like the hadith, Ya muqallibul qulub, thabbit qalbi ala dinik. The dua in which the Prophet ﷺ used to make, oh, the person who make firms the heart, make my heart firm upon your religion. So that's from that word firmness, to be to not be budged, to be I don't know, firm, I guess. It's from this word, right? So thabbata, and the noun that's from is thubut, which means verify or to verify. Okay, so this is a continuation of the past line. Now remember the line that we're talking about the musafir, the person who travels, and we're talking about the sick person. And now we're talking about what is their condition. So it says here, it's a continuation of the past line talking about general fast. And that they require one to have specific intentions. Oh, whoops, I passed some stuff, huh? Okay. So that's this part right here, right? The first line is talking about that you have to have specific intention when you're talking about a general fast, right? But when you're talking about a fast that is for something that is known, like Ramadan, right? And you're performing Ramadan, not making it up. Remember, we're talking about performing. You don't have to have specific intention. Right? Because there's nothing else you can do during the time of Ramadan except fast for Ramadan. So you don't need specific intention. All right, but in scenarios where the thing that you're doing, the fast you're doing is not known, unless you make it specific, you have to be specific. And that is the opinion of this school of thought. Okay, so وَخَبَرُ الْعَدْلِ بِهِ فِي هَذِهِ ثُبُوتُ. Okay, so we have the word here, tathbeet, and then we have the word thubut. Thubut is from the same word as tathbeet. You remember, you can find those three root letters, right? The tha, the ba, the ba, the ta. Those are the three root words that both of these words share, so we know that they come from the same origin. Okay. Wa khabar. Wa we know means and. Khabar is a noun. It means news or information. What's another word that means news or information? Yes, thank you. If you guys didn't know that one, I was gonna bow my head in shame, man. Yeah, so naba also means news and information. But this word is used most in normal speech. Khabar. In fact, a newspaper is called what? Akhbaru Jarida. I know you were going to say Jarida, yes. So Akhbaru Jarida is newspaper. From this word, khabar, right? All right, so the next one we have is adl. Al-adl. The word al-adl is a noun meaning a person of good standing. So if a person is of good standing, meaning what we mean by of good standing is a person is known to be good amongst the people.
Trustworthy.
Almost like trustworthy. But there's another word for that. That's why I didn't use it. All right? So that's adl. And Allah commands us with being adl. وَلَوْ كَانَ ذَا قُرْبَى. It says be just, be upright. Even if it's against those people that are that there's some type of kinship between you. Okay. Bihi. The ba, we have a ba, right? And we have a ha. Bihi. Bihi. So there are two prepositions. All right, preposition and, or, no, I'm sorry, not a two preposition. One, the ba is the preposition. The ha with a kasra underneath it is an indirect object, you know, the ha. And the ha is referring to the news or information. So it's going back to this. I'm sorry, it's going back to the khabar, right? He is going back, it's talking about the khabar. It. It, what is it? The news or the information. Thubut. Thubut is a noun meaning verification. So what is being talked about here in this line, or in this part of the line? It is saying that you need the need of one trustworthy person is needed to affirm the sighting of the new moon. So now we're done with intentions, whether it be for an obligatory fast or an optional fast, whether it is performing that fast or making up that fast. We're done with that. What we're doing now in this part, we're starting with some of the conditions that have to be met before one fast, specifically for Ramadan. And here, according to this school of thought, cites the moon. He said, I saw the new moon. Tomorrow we have to fast. Then we all fast, according to this school of thought. And I think we're going to stop there. Yep. Any questions? Okay, so before we go, then since you guys have no questions, okay, go ahead.
So this one trustworthy person, is this is for an area?
An area.
I mean,
Oh, we're gonna go into that issue. Okay, so
if you rather wait until next week, it's fine. But
the issue
it's just one person. Is like, is this one person per area, or it could be one trustworthy person for the whole world?
Okay, the issue of whether or not the sighting of one person is sufficient enough for the sighting of all the Muslims,
Right.
no matter where they are in the world, is an issue that the scholars have differed in, and the people have followed suit. And if we look at the application of the Sharia and the application of the companions, that the person should be concerned with the sighting, their local sighting, when it comes to those issues and stuff like that. And when you think about it, that applying it that way is something that you can always do, no matter what. Yes, now it's easy for us to communicate with someone half the way around the world, but if something happens, internet, World War III, whatever, you know what I'm saying, you need to be able to implement your religion in a way that is, you know, ala dawam, that's consistent. And plusing the proofs back that up and stuff. We have the hadith of that's in Tirmidhi that Ibn Umar, was it Fadl ibn Abbas?
I thought it was.
That came from Sham?
Yeah. Right.
Oh, it was Fadl ibn Abbas, my bad. You might be right. Fadl ibn Abbas, he came from Sham and saw that when they asked him about the fasting, they said that we've already fasted. We started fasting in Sham. But the people of Medina didn't. They didn't start yet. And they didn't because he told them. They didn't. The companions that heard that news, they didn't implement what he said from his sighting. So that we understand from that the companions view the local sighting to be what you go by.
Well, the question really wasn't about, I guess, local sighting versus global. It's more so, can one person, even let's say you go by the local sighting, can one person determine it for the whole locale? So when you said that, does it need to be, okay, you need more than one sighting to determine that as far as North America? It could be one person for all of North America or one person for all of Cleveland? That's what I meant.
Okay,
Not so much
I mean,
of-
that's still-
not
that's-
so much of local versus global, but just
That's
can
still
it
the
be
same
one
thing.
person
It's the same
for
thing.
the whole area.
It's the same thing. It's the same thing. It's kind of hard though nowadays to see where those lines are drawn.
Right.
Like when do you say that that this is considered a communal sighting or a local sighting and things like that. Like for example, here in Cleveland, do we all just have one sighting? Does a masjid have one sighting? I mean, how does that work? Obviously, most people probably agree that that a masjid by itself can't function in the same city without other masjid when it comes to the sighting. They'll say, okay, yes, everyone in the same city and things like that. When it comes to issues like that, when it comes to knowing those lines, we have to go back to what's called the urf, because they weren't defined to us by the legislation, so we defined it for ourselves. So what we consider to be local, or what we consider to be like a unified body, that would be the determining factor of what would rule over that body.
Right. So if it's, let's just say North America, we'll go with the North American sighting. It only has to be seen by one person in North America
Yeah.
to go with that. That's what I'm asking.
Yeah.
It doesn't need to be multiple sightings.
Mm-mm.
So if one person in North America saw it,
Mhm.
then you can go with that.
Mhm.
I see.
Okay, that was a good question. Any other questions? No. Okay. Well, before we leave, just really want to touch on those words that we learned last class. Like, so how do we say what is this? Ma hada. Okay. How do we say I need to go to the bathroom? Yeah. Yeah. Uridu al-hammam. That's the shortest way we can say it. Or you can say ain al-hammam. You can say where's the bathroom? Or I need the hammam. I want to use the bathroom. Any of those things. 2 words. Ain al-hammam or uridu al-hammam or ana uridu al-hammam if you want to be more linguistically inclined.
So, I want to go to the bathroom is not linguistic?
Ana uridu an adhab. Well, I mean, that's implied. When we say uridu al-hammam, that's implied that you want to go there. So yeah, but you can't say ana uridu an adhab ila al-hammam. You can say that especially if you want to practice on making full sentences, which I encourage. So make your sentences long if that works for you and stuff. Yeah, ana uridu an adhab ila al-hammam. I need to go to the bathroom. But if you say uridu al-hammam, everyone understands.
I want the bathroom.
Yeah, I want the bathroom. And actually, that's how Arabs say it. In Saudi they'll say abgha al-hammam. They don't say uridu. That's gone out the door. And in Egypt, what do they say? Ice al-hammam. I don't even know if they use hammam in Egypt. It's been so long. But they use the word ice, which is not formal Arabic, but that's the word that they use to mean I need. Ice. I remember when I first went to Egypt and someone said that to me. It was a guy that was selling. He had a cart, a little kid. He had a cart with like some Quran CDs in there and stuff like that. So I'm like looking at the Quran CDs and stuff like that, thinking about what to buy. And he says, Ice A. Like Ice A. And I'm thinking eyes, like my eyes, like what is Ice A? I'm like, let me get out of here. I ran away and stuff. I didn't know what he was talking about. But being in a situation like that forces you to try to understand. But it's hard to understand when the people are working on a total different platform than you are. I mean, it's difficult. Took me a while to, to have the necessary foundation to understand people in Egypt. You know, it's easier in Saudi Arabia because they use most of the words that you study. But Saudis do have an accent as well, you know, that, you know, like the abgha thing. I remember when I first heard that in Saudi Arabia. I was taking a trip to Riyadh on a bus, and they made a stop at one of those pit stops. They made a pit stop in one of those gas stations, and a kid again came on the bus. You know, he was hustling. He had his paper cups in one hand and a little kettle in the other. And he was pouring people tea and, you know, charging them $1 for it. So, you know, he came to me and said, tabgha? I'm like, what does tabgha mean? I didn't know that means that, you know, do you want some? And, but of course I went like this. You know, the safest thing to say no to whatever you don't understand. Right. But, you know, I was like, I got to find out what this word tabgha means. And I think after the trip I went and looked in the dictionary, because the word is in the dictionary. But the thing is, in Egypt you can't do that. You can't find eyes in the dictionary. You won't even know how to spell it anyway. I mean, I don't even know. Is it a ayn? Is it hamza? Eyes? I don't know. But the words that they use in Saudi, a lot of it you can find in the dictionary that will give you a general understanding. Like, for example, they use the word aruh. They don't say adhab. Adhab meaning to go, right? Like, I'm going here, I'm going there. They don't use adhab. They say aruh. And aruh, it's actually in a hadith. You know, the hadith of Umar ibn Khattab, when it says, لو أنكم توكلتم على الله حق توكله فيرزقكم كما يرزق الطير تغدو خصاما وتروح بطانا. So he said, the hadith says, you know, the hadith of Umar says, if you guys would trust upon the law the way that you should, he would send his bounties upon you like he does the bird who goes out in the empty, it goes out empty in the morning and comes back with his stomach full. So the word that means to come back is ruh, taruhu bitanan. Yeah, ruh means soul, but that's if it's a noun. But this is a verb. So here, it means actually, if you look it up in the dictionary, it means to go out in the morning or do something in the morning, to go about in the morning. So I was like, but they use it to mean just to go. You know, I'm going to my friend's house. Ana aruh ila sadiqi or something like that. They use that word.
Where would they get the word Aish from?
Aish is Arabic. It means it's Aisha is from that word.
No, like we used to say like hoops, bread.
Okay, same thing. Think about the asl of that word. The asl of that word is from the verb Asha Ya'ishu. Asha means to live. It means to live. I mean, if you depend on bread, then that's your Aish.
That's like the bare minimum of
Yeah, what we consider, what is called again,
staples.
That's what the word I'm looking for. It's a staple product for them, so it's the Aish.
Okay.
So you see, so some of the things, you know, for us, is like we're trying to connect the dots, but if you really think about it, it works. There's a lot of words that we use that, you know, you could only know the significance of it if you know the history. Like, huh?
It's like slang.
Yeah, it's like slang. But those words, they have some substance to it. It's not like someone that's made up out of thin air and there's nothing behind it and stuff like that. No, it does. Like I remember the word, the real McCoy, even though nobody uses that term anymore and stuff like that. But knowing where that came from and stuff, that was actually from an inventor named something McCoy. and he had a whole bunch of patents. And if you wanted like his authentic word, is that a real McCoy? So and we have more recent, more current examples, which now escapes me, but I'm pretty sure you guys can think of some. Huh?
Like hit the road.
I hit the road. So I mean, it's the same thing in Arabic. So, and when you realize that, it kind of makes the language fun. The more you learn and things like that, and you go different places. Like I was just looking up, because all of us, we continue, no matter how much we learn of a language, we're always learning. There was this phrase today, actually, I saw it. Somebody mentioned it in a post. Yubda lahu jabin. Yubda lahu jabin. No, yubda. Oh no, I'm sorry. Yunda. Yunda. And yunda means to call, like nida. Right? And then you have the word jabin, which means the forehead. So I'm like, yunda lahu jabin. Now, you have to always try to remember context is very important when it comes to understanding what people are talking about. The person was talking about an issue about I think it had something to do with death and killing and stuff like that. So he's talking about, I think what I understand from the word and including the context and the meaning of each individual word, he's talking about it's something that makes you sad. So yunda lahu, it calls your forehead to make funny expressions, yes. So that's what I understand from it and stuff. So some of the stuff is easy to understand, some of the stuff you have to work on, and so forth, and some of it is hard. But it's fun if you make it fun. Any other comments anyone wants to make? Before we have one more statement we wanted to cover here, and that is, how do you say, what does something mean? 2 words.
Yeah.
Huh?
What does something mean? Yeah,
Yani means it means. So you're close. Ma ma'na. Ma ma'na. So ma'na means what does, but of course you have to mention the thing, right? So for example, if I say a word in Arabic like kitab, you don't know what kitab means. What would you say? Ma ma'na kitab. Right? What does kitab mean? So you would use this in conversational Arabic. You would use this to get your vocabulary up, right? You know enough to have a conversation, but you don't know enough to know everything that the person is saying, right? So they throw a word out at you. You don't know what it means. Ma ma'na. Use your ma ma'na, right? And that's how I used to do it.
What did you say forehead was again?
Huh? What was what?
Forehead?
Jabin. There's a lot of different words for forehead, though, but that's one of them.
No, when I try to keep track of certain new vocabulary words, and I'll put it in
That's good. But I'm just like, there's another thing that we have to be careful of is when we learn a word, we think that that's the only word.
Right.
Especially when it comes to the Arabic language, there are more than one way to say certain things and things like that. Like the word jabin, that you have jabha, and you could even use, no, you can't use manakh here. Maybe, what's the other word? لا يكب الناس على مناخرهم على وجوههم. No, مناخر. Yeah. There's another word though, I can't remember. But it means forelocks, which is basically talking about the forehead and stuff, and so forth. Okay, so with that, I'm not gonna hold you guys. How much time we have until Salat? Because I might just leave out and stuff. I got
We got about 2 minutes.
yeah, I'm probably gonna just dip out. Any questions? No? Man, he got his jacket on and everything, man. I know what it's on his mind. Okay, so with that being said, subhanakallahumma wa bihamdik wa ashhadu an la ilaha illallah wa astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Yeah, how do you? Huh, Chin?
Yeah.
Vicken.